welcome back to the channel. You know who it is by now.
Jimothy.
So ladies and gents, we are back in my humble abode. So apologies for the echo. I didn't get a chance to record this at the OTS tournament, which I actually topped and won if you didn't see the community post, because I was in a bit of a rush and I had to actually go out. Like, I got home and my wife was just absolutely fuming with me because I was late, because the tournament ran a little bit longer than I anticipated. So yeah, I kind of got into trouble. But anyway, I told her that I won, and I wouldn't say she was impressed because she was just like, you're a geek. But anyway, we are here, ladies and gents. And yes, I managed to win. Here is the map if you can't see. Absolutely beautiful. It's been a while, and this was actually one of my goals for 2025, which was to top an event, get an invite, and potentially go abroad and play some Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously, European Championships have just been announced. I believe it's in Berlin. So that's definitely something I'm interested in and something I'm potentially going to do, ladies and gents. But we will see, because it's costly and I have children and they're probably going to want to go on holiday. But we will see. Anyway, in terms of the OTS tournament, I managed to win. I actually went 4-1 in total. I got a bye round 1. Round 2, I played against Mitsurugi Raizio. Round 3, I played against Predaplants, which was crazy. Round 4, I played against Fire King, which was just a horrible matchup. I got hit with so many hand traps, it was crazy. And round 5, I played against Memento in the finals, which was interesting because that player was actually XO at the time. So I managed to beat him and then obviously top the event, which was a bit crazy. And all in all, ladies and gents, I'm very proud of my performance. Now, what I will say is, before we get into the deck profile, my mind's changed on this deck. I was actually playing this deck because it was just a good deck. It was strong. Maliss is strong. We all know how oppressive it can be. But what I will say is, after spending a little bit of time with it, I'm starting to get into like how the deck functions and just some of the intricacies. And I'm actually enjoying it, which is unlike me, because I typically don't tend to play meta decks, but this is a deck that I do wholly enjoy, mainly because of the way it plays. You don't necessarily have to just go for these big, extravagant, flashy boards. You potentially end on a monster and a couple of back row, and all your interaction is layered and it's on your opponent's turn, which I think is just absolutely fantastic, as well as having a whole suite of hand traps. So without wasting any more time of me yabbering on, because I'm going to save some of my thoughts on the meta and all that kind of stuff for another video, let's just get straight into the profile, ladies and gents. Okay, ladies and gents, let's just get straight into it, and I'll just describe some of my choices. Most of it is pretty standard, to be honest, so we won't take too long doing a profile. So starting us off, I played obviously triple White Rabbit, it goes without saying, triple Dormouse, double Chessy Cat. Obviously there's been a bit of confliction. Some people are saying you need to see a Maliss name, you need to play 3. Some people are saying 2. I've seen a few builds with 1. Nobody really knows. So I've just hit the middle ground and I thought, you know what, 2 seems to be fine. And to be honest, 2 is probably the best ratio, mainly because in game 1, ladies and gents, and this is something that I need to definitely preface, you need to kind of win game 1, because game 2 and 3, you basically playing a die roll with if the opponent draws Lancia. So with regards to game 1, I'm going for as much draw power as possible. I want to see as much non-engine, as much interaction as I can on my opponent's, well, if basically game 1. Obviously you need to win the die roll. If your opponent sees what you're playing, they're going to side in Lancia, and it's just a long day at the office from there on in, ladies and gents. So the 2 Chessy Cat seems to be working out for me. Triple Maliss in Underground, again, goes without saying, nothing really much more needs to be said. The 3 traps, as well as the Dotscaper. I am actually still playing Dotscaper. I still think it's quite viable. I know a lot of people are saying it's a brick, but with the prevalence of Chaos Hunter now being in the format, typically I'm making a Nightmare Cerberus to be able to pop my opponent's Chaos Hunter, and having discard Dotscaper in hand just makes for an easy discard. Obviously you can discard anything else, but it's not as bad of a brick as some of the other cards in your deck, because you can actually discard it for Cerberus, and it means that it just jumps back onto the board, so you play with an extra body. So I'm still working with the Dotscaper. If you don't see, obviously you can just banish it off Red Ransom and just get a body that way. So it is very much an inclusion in this list. I don't know about anybody else's. I've gone for the double Allure of Darkness and the 1 Gold Sark. This actually won me a game in against Mitsurugi Raizio. I actually opened no starters, and 2 of the traps. The 2 traps actually came in dividends, to be honest, because it meant that I could overextend and dodge some of the hand traps my opponent had. But just drawing into a Maliss name and then banishing one is crazy, ladies and gents. So definitely something that I advocate for. Playing the Allure of Darkness. This typically gets sided out games 2 and 3, to be honest. It does help you dig for stuff. It helps you to play. But games 2 and 3, you need to combat Lancia. It's basically the opposite of Shifter for this deck. You just can't play if you get Lancia, which is fine. It's something that I just accept, and it's probably why I've started to enjoy the deck a little bit more, because I just accept the fact that if my opponent draws Lancia and I've got no way to basically survive until turn 3, there's nothing I can do. So yeah. Next for the Bystials, 1 Magnum up, triple Drew Swarm because I was scared of Ryziel, and it actually came through, as well as the double Bystial Boardrake. Yes, flame me in the comments, mixed matching rarities. It is what it is. But again, just crazy extenders. I think there was one instance where I summoned a Boardrake as well as a Drew Swarm on my turn 1 after I played into, I think, a Purge, as well as a Impulse. It was crazy. Like I was just Ash probably. There's 3 hand traps that I got hit with, and the Bystials helped me to extend and get the 3 bodies on field to then go into White Binder, and then do stuff from there. So very, very much so an inclusion in this deck until we get the new support, ladies and gents. And I think that will definitely alter how the deck's played and probably cut down on some of the Bystials. Although I feel like these cards are just a crazy interaction by themselves. So yeah. For the non-engine, and this is where there's a bit of controversy in my list. Triple Ash Blossom, just trying to stop Charmies, to be honest. I got Charmied once for the whole tournament. A lot of people were playing Charmies, but they just fortunately didn't see. I did get Charmied once, and I just ended up making White Binder pass. And my opponent was on the Shifter, so there wasn't a lot they could do. Even though there was drawing cards, I just literally couldn't do anything. So yeah, Ash is just essential for stopping Charmies, as well as just being able to kind of like slow your opponent down. If you've got Ash, White Binder, GWC, Red Ransom Engrave, potentially a Crypta, yeah, it's really difficult for your opponent to play. This card, yes, we spoke about it in a more recent video. I hate playing against this card, but when I play this card, I'm just like, yeah, I like it. It helps you to win games. It's so unfair, ladies and gents, but I understand its reasoning. Like I said in my previous video, it's a quote unquote necessary evil. Some people are saying it isn't. It needs to get kicked out of the game. I, for one, understand why it's there. I'm not saying I'm happy about it, but I will play if my deck can facilitate it. This is what conflicts with Shifter. Now, the reason why I've gone for 3 Droll in the main deck is because I need my opponent to stop playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In game 1. So if I see Shifter, I'm definitely throwing Shifter. If I see Droll, I'm throwing the Droll. If I see a combination of both, then I'm gonna have to let my opponent do a few things first to establish what type of strategy they're playing, and then use my hand traps accordingly. It didn't come up as much as I thought it would. Literally, I either seen the Droll or I seen the Shifter, and it paid dividends. Obviously, going into games 2 and 3, these are just easy side outs, depending on what type of matchup you're going against. But the Droll definitely helps, especially with those rogue decks that just love to search a lot. And I ran into like Mitsurugi Ryziel, and this just stopped his turn. So this is like, I think it's essential. Again, there is a bit of a conflict there, but I'd rather just stop my opponent playing game 1 and then figure out what I'm going to be doing game 2 and 3 when they ultimately side in the Kryptonites for the deck. So yeah. Double Nib. Nib just went hard. And anytime I seen this, it just went off. What's the argument for not playing a 3rd one? I just didn't want to brick. It's a 40 card list. I wanted to be able to see Nib alongside other hand traps, and it kind of worked out that way. Sometimes it was Nib and Ash, sometimes Nib and Droll. It's really, really difficult to recover from Nib plus another hand trap. So I wanted to see those other ones first before Nib. Shifter Nib, that's just horrible, ladies and gents. Like, your opponent's not doing anything. As well as the triple Infinite Impermanence. Again, goes without saying, it's Imperm. And then I also played Core by the Grave and the 1 Triple Tactics talent. I was playing this at 2 for 1 at one point, but I just hate bricking on it now. And like I mentioned in my video, going second, this is a beautiful card. Going first, it's so awkward at times. People know that the talent is going to be a threat, so they play around it. They're hitting me with impulses, purges, infinite impermanences, and it just sits in your hand. And a couple of times, even throughout the tournament, I drew this card and it just sat in my hand until turn 3 when I couldn't really come back from the board state anyway. So yeah, the one talent could potentially take it out and put it in the side, but I decided to main it, and it was okay. It was okay. That's it for the main deck. Whoops. For the extra deck, this is very cut and dry. One Crypta, one White Binder, the God card, as well as the one Red Ransom. Yeah, it's Maliss in it. For the link ones, one Decoder, as well as one Lingeribo. Lingeribo was nice because I kept running into Impulse and Purge. Having Lingeribo on field meant my opponent had to play very, very differently. I learned very quickly, ladies and gents, and I think one of the games I played, somebody kept impulsing me, so I was like, all right, cool. Forget making Link Decoder, I'm gonna make Lingeribo, protect my plays, and try and play with the Bystials instead. And it actually paid dividends because I got hit with an impulse on one of my Maliss names, and I just Lingeribo'd it, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. For the link twos, we've got Haggard Lizardos, Nightmare Cerberus. This is nice, especially when you have this co-linked. Typically, I would have a link decoder pointing downwards to the Cerberus, so I'd pop and then get the draw. It was really good. This is actually needed now because people are on Chaos Hunter. If Chaos Hunter starts finding itself outside of the format, then you could potentially take this out, but I'm leaving it in just until Chaos Hunter sees their way out. One IP Masquerena, as well as her partner with crime, SP Little Knight. This goes without saying. I didn't make IP too much. This could potentially be something else. If I did have the facilities to make Little Knight, I'd just make Little Knight. I wouldn't bother trying to play on my opponent's turn and link into SP on my opponent's turn. However, it's always good to have that option, just depending on what your board state is, because hand traps are everywhere, ladies and gents, everywhere. One Splash Mage goes without saying. And then for the fours, ladies and gents, we play. Yes, we're doing it. Nightmare Griffin, Abaoku. I did Griffin lock my opponent, especially in the final round. It was really, really rough. They couldn't play. Yeah, it was annoying. They managed to super poly off the Abao, but then they left the Griffin on field, and then they just couldn't play for Griffin. And then obviously I had White Binder and GWC, and that just meant that I just swarmed my opponent. One access code talker because it's access code. One Firewall Dragon. I like making this card, especially with GWC and White Binder engrave. So you can potentially get a bounce, you get the White Binder banish, and then you just get a whole host of effects, ladies and gents. And then the Firewall bounce is just, it's nice. And then finally, for the last card, we played one Ryzeal Detonator because in the side deck, ladies and gents, you've guessed it, I am playing Metatronus because I was very afraid of Ryzeal, and rightly so. If there's one thing that needs to be noted about Maliss is that if you remove the cards from the field, it's really difficult to play. Removal is so hard to play through. You need the bodies on board, and Detonator just pops everything. Like, he's a terrorist. Just, there's no way about it. He's a terrorist. All right, onto the side deck very quickly. Triple Judgment, we say no. I was a bit scared of board breakers and talents because this deck doesn't have really much in the way of spell, trap, negation or interaction basically. So I opted for the Judgments. I sided this in a couple of times. Triple Lancia, yes, you do want to Lancia your opponent regardless if you're playing Maliss or not. This needs to be done, as well as the Crystron actually had a really good showing, and it has been showing up a lot. It's definitely a rogue deck that you need to be aware of. Lancia kind of hurts the deck, as well as obviously Abyss Dweller, but Lancia is very solid into Crystron, so please bear that in mind, ladies and gents, because it's not to be scoffed at. It doesn't play into any Bystials, really. So it's really important to be able to stop that deck because its first turn board is very difficult to break. It's one of the decks that has one of the most like solid, like hard negation type boards. So Lancia is solid in that respect. I also played double crossout. I could have played the third, but I just decided that I didn't want to brick. So I played two crossout as well as the Core by the Grave. Just enough to be able to stop. In honesty, there's times when you're just not going to be able to play, and you just have to accept that. And I think that's what's made me like playing through the deck a lot more. Just like when you know you're going to get shifted and you can't play, it just makes your losses a little bit more acceptable, because if you get Lancia, you literally have to stop playing. Triple Metatronus, this is literally here for Ryzeal because I was so scared of Detonator after my experience at the YCS. If you've never seen my short, ran into Jesse Cotton and he was just popping things on my field, left, right, and center, and I just couldn't play. And I was like, nah, you know what? I need to do something. Like, we can't be having this every time I come to play. I'm just getting destroyed. So yeah, I went for the Metatronus. Double Lightning Storm just for some back row removal. Again, I had Blue Eyes in mind, so yes, you do really want to do this, especially before they make the new Synchro 12 or whatever it is. You want to destroy that back row. And then finally, I decided to just opt for 2 Kurikara Div Incarnates. Yeah, I like this card. It was more of a tech, and you know what, ladies and gents, the funniest thing is, me winning this OTS, I actually turned up thinking it was locals, so I didn't have a deck list ready. I wasn't really prepared to play 5 rounds. I was just going for locals just to have a good time basically before I went out, and lo and behold, it was an OTS. And red is one of my favorite colors, and this is the reason why I decided to play this card. And I did side it in a couple of times, and it has applications in the metagame. I did side it in against the Memento player, and I was gonna Metal Tronus. It's the big Memento monster. I can't remember what it's called. The big one that you can reduce its attack and it negates or whatever. Yeah, I was gonna Kurikara that, but yeah, I didn't see it. But in theory, it was good. And that is it, ladies and gents. All in all, a solid performance. Managed to get my invite. Potentially will be attending if money suffices. The next time I go to locals, I'm going to use this mat. I really love red, and I like the look of this mat. And I'm probably going to play 10U with it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, happy. We're there. We're on our way to Berlin. Hopefully we can get there and do some stuff. I'm not too sure if I do attend. I'm going to be doing the main event or not. Probably will, but I can foresee myself just going anyway and just doing some side events. But we'll see, ladies and gents. That is for another day. Right now, this is me signing off. If you did enjoy this content, you know what to do, ladies and gents. Hit that like button, share, subscribe, all that beautiful good stuff. And I will definitely see you guys in the next video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.